It's a bit of everything, like nervous, excited. I think we've been working really hard on making sure every feature is great. And I'm even like now, like right before this meeting, I'm like, we need to make sure like the HUD and every little thing. And I think at this point, it's like it's gonna happen. And I'm just really excited and happy for the team because I think we really nailed something. And
it was a really crazy moment because we're trying to prepare a build for our first live test, and closing a build for the first time after years of development is always the hardest. And at the same time, of course, we have a lot of work to do still as we work toward a final worldwide launch. So we're both still developing new features, we're closing and debugging and stabilizing a build to put live, and we're announcing a game. So it's a busy time on the team, but everyone's super excited. Are you bringing it to mobile finally? And I think there's a couple big reasons. I mean, the market's ready for it, the phones are ready for it, the devices are there, and yeah, the community's asking for it all the time. And you're right, it's been a painful 3 years where you just have to be quiet and not talk about this, a really exciting thing when everyone really wants it. Siege is a really complex game. Technically, you've got the procedural destruction, which we also have in the game, which is different than probably any other destruction you might see on mobile, in that it's not predefined what's going to break and how it's going to break. It's actually procedurally calculated at the time you hit that wall or shoot that wall, and it's all the destruction you see in the large, complex Siege levels as well. And then you have 10 operators, 5v5 in real time. The ping times have to be low, the responses have to be really fast. We have 60 frames per second on high end, 30 frames per second on low end. And then on top of that, you say, oh, yeah, by the way, for all the phones we want to support, because we really want to succeed in regions like South America, Southeast Asia, we know we need to have a very broad range of devices. So we're making this thing for devices that range effectively from a PlayStation 1 to a PlayStation 4. But thankfully, we've got an amazing set of genius programmers who've just been doing the craziest stuff and create what I think is one of the very best looking games out there, even with all the other complexities going on.
Bringing that all together is more of like the combat, how a player in the game, like if you've ever played Siege, is just challenging to understand how to move around the map and shoot and use to gather information. So the moment-to-moment gameplay is something we really wanted to stay true to and push further. And on a mobile device, like you can understand, like it's not the same as a keyboard and mouse or a controller. You're on your drone, and all of a sudden you get out of the drone, you vault over a desk, you start shooting enemies. And on our, like what we actually did was we made it with just like 2 inputs. You can do all that. We've kind of automated how to run a vault over an object with just 1 swipe of your thumb, as well as to shoot and go down inbound sight with just 1 button as well. So how you would lean, for example, you would tap and hold the ADS button, and the character would like lean left and right depending on where you aim, or an audio compass to visually show you where all to better like situate yourself where enemies are and where you are in that space to plan your next move.
One thing we know is important is we have to win over the Siege players. If we can't win over the Siege players, what are we doing here? We also, though, know that we're opening the game up to a whole new audience, people who maybe don't have high-end PCs or next-gen or current-gen consoles, who have never been able to play the game before, people who maybe don't have time to play Siege anymore and can't sit down at a TV and sit down at a PC for 45-minute long sessions. There's just a lot of people out there who I think will love Siege gameplay who just haven't been able to take part in it yet. And so we have to build a game that does work for both of those demographics. On the Siege player side, we really want them to feel at home, so we focused on all the operators are there with their same abilities and the same gameplay and the same destruction. But really, the cool thing is if you're a Siege player and you're like driving home from work on the bus and you want to get in a quick 10-minute session, you might learn a new strategy. You might learn a new way to access CEO office through a certain hatch or something like this. You get back home, you hop on Siege, you're now a better Siege player also. And that's pretty cool, I think. And then for the players that are not hardcore Siege players, we spend a lot of time on how do we introduce them at the very first place to how the game works. How do you play attack? How do you play defend? How do you do these basic abilities like repelling or breaking open a soft wall, deploying your drone, tagging enemies, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to have an entire set of kind of missions that you can play that teach you the complexities of that paper, rock, scissors type of thing, like the first time you might just have to break the soft wall to get access into CEO office, but then the next mission it's actually been reinforced, so now you have to use a hard breach. But the next version, mute jammer is actually behind there, so you have to use an EMP grenade first. So we really teach you the layers of why Siege is so cool. The version that's coming out for our alpha, I believe it's 16 operators and 2 maps. We can't really say how many we'll have at worldwide, though. We don't know where we'll land there, but of course we'll continue developing the game and working on operators. And then of course after that there's going to be the live operations of the game where seasonal content's coming, new operators are coming, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Short answer, 2 maps, 16. It's 16, right, Ollie?
16. I think we have 2 recruits though. So
Yeah.
They're recruits. I'm sorry, 2 recruits?
That's
Yeah.
right. We've got a little surprise coming.
So,
We're not going to talk about the team coaches, though. That's a secret to be revealed.
una cosa que es clara a la vista desde el primer vistazo es nuestro nuevo estilo gráfico, especialmente cómo los operadores se visten y mueven. ¿Qué llevó a tomar este camino?
The way I look at it is that we're kind of another window into that world. What was important to us was to kind of lighten the mood up a little bit. Like I was mentioning earlier, we wanted to bring the game not just to Siege players, to many other players out there also. And so for everyone, the kind of hard military energy isn't for everybody. So we thought we could lighten that up a little bit. They were also starting to expose who these operators really were outside of their military capabilities. I think Bandit's a great example, where Bandit's actually this awesome biker dude, and you don't know that until they release their like legendary skin. And for us, we were like, you know what? Let's just make our Bandit that guy. And so you'll see in the game, you'll see in the trailers, he's a biker guy running around with his big beard and everything and putting his batteries down.
Well, on the gameplay side, like Justin mentioned, we really tailored everything to be optimized for mobile. So stay true to what Siege is, but the reality is, what Justin's saying, people are going to play on the bus or on a quick break. So we kind of wanted to shorten the session length to be much quicker, and by doing so we kind of made all these design decisions within gameplay to make sure that it makes sense. So we're tightening all the animation transitions. We moved the spawn points a bit closer to the building so attackers can go into the building quicker. We balanced the deployment of reinforcements and barricades to be a bit snappier. So again, tightening the gameplay up so that players can have a shorter session length, but everything still feels like Siege within it. You tap and hold the ADS button, you enter attack focus mode, which means like you're really honing into that zone that you want to focus onto, like a line of sight. And if an enemy kind of runs towards that area, like your gun will start to shoot if you're lined up with the enemy. But in doing so, you kind of close yourself to sound a bit, and you're a bit in your own bubble, and also a bit slower, so the player can't really move. And if you move, the time to shoot will be a bit increased, but it really focuses the player to hold the line of sight, and so you just have to focus on aiming. Yeah.
South America is a really important region for us, so that could give you maybe clues as to how likely we will be to be releasing operators that might appeal to you guys. Well, I think we built something pretty special. So I would say for everyone out there, come at least give it a shot. Come and give it a try. And I think we've spent so much time thinking about how do we please the players and how do we make something really unique and special. So yeah, come give it a try.